Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. How you doing, baby?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. It's a Thursday. How could I be anything but good, right?
Sure.
All right. Coming up here later in the program, we have Patty Wifler going to be visiting with Patty, and I'm trying to think right now what Patty's book is about. I just lost my mind. How many times do I do that lately?
Several times a day.
I know. That is concerning to me. Well, at least I know it's Patty Wifler, and I know it's fascinating or I wouldn't have talked to her. So we've got a chat coming up with Patty here in a little bit, and hopefully I'll remember what that is. Especially, it'd be nice if I remember that before we talk.
Before the interview.
So, Patty, what you want to talk about?
What's your book about?
Yeah. So there is such a thing as a worldwide shortage of trained butlers. And nowadays, if you want to be a butler, if you're a good butler, you could make up to $500,000 a year. That is what our son should do.
I didn't know our son.
He would be an awesome butler.
Are you kidding me?
He would be such an awesome butler.
He would. He is a pig.
Well,
there's no way he would be an awesome butler.
He'd have to go through buttle training.
There's no way.
Is that the way you would call it?
But I was not aware.
Yeah, butler training.
That there was a need for butlers.
Well, there's a butler shortage, so $500,000 a year for a really good butler. I'm thinking maybe I should buttle on the weekends only.
Okay.
I just wanted to say
I don't think
buttle.
you'd be a good butler
Yeah,
either.
probably not. Probably
Walk
not.
into any room in our house and you've got garbage and crap laying around in any of those rooms.
Okay, that's probably why there's a shortage of butlers. Coming up, some special things today. We'll tell you all about that in a bit.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It's Thursday, September the 8th. It is International Literacy Day. It is National Ampersand Day. That's a little sign for the and.
Yeah, a little and.
It's also Pardon Day. So today's the day to pardon people, apparently. Pardon me. It's Pediatric Hematology Oncology Nurses Day.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it's Virgin Mary Day.
Okay.
It's her birthday today. And then it's also World Physical Therapy Day today. So
okay.
Lots of different things going on this Thursday, the 8th day of September.
John and Heidi.
Email marketing is affordable and a proven way to grow your business. If it's done right, you can stay in contact with your customers to let them know when you have new things to offer. You stay in control the whole time too. You decide when the messages are sent and you decide what is being said. So you're constantly in control of your business image. You can do this, but don't try it on your own. Team up with one of the biggest names in email marketing, Constant Contact. Sign up for a free trial right now at radiosavings.com. Sign up now at radiosavings.com.
You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. Combine a coffee shop and a package delivery service, and what do you get? Well, you get a great name for a coffee shop and even greater lawsuit. This is what happened. A New York coffee shop has been playing the name game to great success. The shop, owned by brother and sister Anna Dobbs and Dave Rustin, was originally called Federal Espresso. That's a cute name.
Yeah.
Yeah. A
It
lawsuit
is.
by a shipping giant forced them to change their name, citing copyright infringement. The court made Anna and Dave come up with a new name. Their choice? Ex-Federal Espresso. Now the duo has once again decided to change the name and have a little fun with what they were made to change the name to. Now it's called Freedom of Espresso. I like that one the best, honestly. You know, there was a band, Huey Lewis and the News.
I don't know how that could have been a copyright infringement.
Oh, that one's not. Freedom of Espresso?
No, the first one.
Oh, because it was too close.
How?
Federal Espresso.
Okay. Do they have copyright on the word espresso?
I don't know. Must not. I have no clue.
And anything with the word federal combined with any other word, they could sue for that? That's
probably
ridiculous.
just too close. I don't know. I remember back in the 80s, there was a band called Huey Lewis and the News. Their original name was going to be American Express. That was the name of their... Because thought
that is exactly the
I know.
same name. So this is a very different
And in my mind, I was thinking it was
scenario.
the same company, but this is a whole different company. Federal Express, American Express.
Very different.
I don't know what I'm talking about. Back to this story. Despite the legal battle and the name changes, the store continues to thrive as Anna and Dave are planning a third shop now, which is good news for their lawyer, Joseph Heath. The attorney included a cup of coffee a day for life as part of his legal fees. How cool is that?
That's cool.
We should work on some sort of deal like that where we get, free coffee for life for doing what? Well, what
For
can we
doing
do?
what?
We don't do legal things. We could We could, I don't know what we could do.
Free requests.
There you go. We could request songs. Free coffee. All right, that's probably not going to work. Good news. I have free coffee right up the hall. I'm going to go grab some of that. And this story, you know it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain. And this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
and this is your brain on drugs. Some plant nappers are going to be disappointed when they try smoking the pot that they stole from Piri Curie's garden. The Ontario woman says she grows spider plants. They are very pointy leaves that look a lot like marijuana in the early stages of growth. 10 of her plants were stolen. There's a dirt trail from her yard across the sidewalk onto the street. She figures the thieves pulled up and saw the spider plants and thought, ooh, score, we found some pot. Well, if they try to smoke this, it's not going to make them feel very good. It'll get them sick.
Good. Serves them right.
And that's what happens when your brain is on drugs.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're like, oh, wow, this is a great idea. I've actually seen things growing. I don't know exactly what pot looks like, but I've seen pictures like when I was in school. And I think I've seen that stuff growing. I think it's wild, like all over the place.
Oh, it's called ditchweed.
Yeah, is that what it? So this lady had some in her front yard, but it wasn't really marijuana. This was a thing called what was it called? We said the name of it here.
Spider plants.
Yeah,
Why would
the
she
one.
want to?
She just likes the look of those, I guess. She thought they were cute. Thought maybe she'd attract some dumb stoners, and it worked.
It did.
All right, your moment of duh is on the way.
John and Heidi.
Now your moment of duh. A 13-year-old French boy faked his own kidnapping because he was late for school. What?
That's not a good idea.
At first, he forged a note from his mother on a letter explaining why he was late, but then he got found out, so if at first you don't succeed, try another stupid plan, and that's exactly what he did. He pretended to be kidnapped. He faked it. He cut his own face with a knife and pretended he had been grabbed by men in a car. Police launched a 4-hour search for the non-existent kidnappers before the boy finally admitted that he was lying.
Oh, boy.
He was given a warning and needed stitches to fix the cut on his own face that he put there himself.
Oh, boy.
Kids, if you're late for school, you're late for school. What's the worst that could happen? But if you're going to pretend that you were kidnapped and start a 4-hour manhunt,
I would assume his family
Oh,
is going to
my
have to
goodness.
pay all of the fees associated
I don't know.
with
All I
that.
know is that is such a bad plan. It's better to just be late. Take that from a guy who's quite often late. It's not the end of the world. I know it's not good
It's
to be
rude.
late. It is rude to be late. I don't mean to be late, but I have way too many things that I'm involved in, and there are times that I'm late. But I'm
No,
not going to pretend that I was
You know
kidnapped.
what it is? It's not that you have too many things going on. It's that you get distracted. You had a meeting to be at the other day, and it was an hour away from here, and you're sitting here still at 10:30. And I said, aren't you supposed to be somewhere right now?
Well, that just happens once
You're
in
like,
a while.
Oh,
I was-
I only have 25 minutes to drive an hour.
I was planning on using my DeLorean and getting up to 88 miles an hour. It just didn't work
Even
out.
at 88 miles an hour, you wouldn't have made it.
Oh,
on
I
time.
was going to go through time. See, there you go. Hey, we've got your scoop of the day on the way.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now, your scoop of the day. Hitting a grand slam is typically a cause for celebration. However, it was bittersweet for minor league baseball player Brandon Thomas, who hit a baseball out of the stadium right into the windshield of his own car.
Oh, man.
What are the odds of that? I mean, you should go buy a lottery ticket, Mr. Thomas, because that is absolutely crazy. The odds of you
funny.
hitting it out of the park are slim, and then hitting it out of the park and hitting your own car and breaking your windshield, I mean, astronomically slim. That is absolutely crazy. There's a weird story from San Francisco. Police there are looking for a man who bit off a bartender's finger
Ew.
when he kicked him out at closing time.
Ew.
He really didn't want to go. So when he left, he bit off the bartender's finger.
Ew.
Doesn't this sound like something that we would watch on the TV show Supernatural?
It
Doesn't
does.
it?
I was thinking
I mean,
about
Sam and Dean are probably going to head to San Francisco
Yeah.
to check into that. For those of you who don't watch that show, don't watch one episode. You will get hooked.
really need
Our
to.
daughter started watching it, and I was like, that is so dumb.
At
And
first, the first...
then, like, the next week I was going, hey, wait, no, don't watch them without me. So,
I know, it's horrible.
it's a terrible show,
at
and I
first
wish I
was
didn't like
this
it.
is the most ridiculous
It
show
is.
on the planet.
It is.
But now it's I really like it now.
It's terrible, and I can't help admitting that I absolutely love it. I don't know why. I hate it, but I love it. It's just a weird... Anyway, it's called Supernatural. Moving right along. Somebody tuned in the middle of that, and they're like, what were they talking about? 12-year-old Weston Eimer is running a Trump for President campaign office in Colorado. He's 12 years old,
How fun
and he
is
decided
that?
to start his own Trump for President campaign. That's really kind of cool. A little 12-year-old in Colorado. A memo issued by the main office of the Philippines police reminds officers not to do anything that might create a negative impression among members of the public, including, quote, taking selfies and picking your nose on duty.
Yeah.
If you need a memo to not do those things, maybe there's a problem. Can ice cream be considered a health food, Heidi?
I'm sure it probably can.
Well, probably not quite. But if you're trying to lose weight and you have uncontrollable urges to snack on sinful foods, ice cream is your best bet, according to researchers at the Center for Human Nutrition at the University of Colorado. Ice cream is loaded with calcium, an important mineral that bumps fat out of cells and into your bloodstream where it burns off. Ice cream seems to work best on belly fat, which has been linked to metabolic syndrome and a host of conditions that can lead to heart disease. So, ice cream, you scream. Let's go get some ice cream, Heidi. Doesn't that sound like a good plan?
I'm not
I
a
could do
huge.
this.
I've never really been a huge fan of ice cream.
You shut your dirty mouth.
Wow.
Wow, you do not.
That escalated quickly.
Ice cream is delicious.
Jeez.
Don't you dare go there. All right, moving right along. She's my wife, by the way. I'm kind of squirrely today. Hey, the average person should ingest about 2,000 calories a day, which is what makes it so incredible that the Cheesecake Factory's Bistro Shrimp Pasta contains almost double that. 3,120
Whoa.
calories. Yeah, you're only supposed to have, the average person, about 2,000 calories a day, and this would be 3,100 calories in one meal.
One meal.
All right. Scientists have discovered recently that many kinds of bacteria do not operate independently. Instead, they seem to communicate with each other and only go to work, causing an infection, for example, when they decide that they have reached critical mass that is needed to get the job done. So they're saying that germs are kind of like Groupon, apparently. So I think that's kind of... they're all just kind of hanging out in there till, okay, we finally got enough. Now we can do this. And finally, a new study finds that men think they're better at math than they actually are. According to this study, 7 out of 5 people agreed with that.
No.
Only men, though.
7 out of 5.
7 out of 5 men agreed. I'm just kidding. It doesn't say that. I added that part. But a new study finds men think they're better at math than they actually are. I don't even think I'm good at math.
No, I think both
terrible.
of us know we're awful at math, which is why we have an amazing accountant that does all of
I
those
pulled out
things
my
for us.
calculator the other day to factor something that when I calculated it, then I realized it was really easy math. And I had already done this in front of a person. So I was like, I just wanted to double check that one. 10 times 10 is still 100. Yes. All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Thursday.
John and Heidi.
When it comes to politics, quite often you have an opinion, especially for this election. How would you like a platform to let your opinion be heard? PoliticalStorm.com is that platform. It's a website with news from both sides, and you can chime in on any story, and you can add your own stories. You may even be invited to join me on my podcast for a chance to share your opinion, whether we agree or not. Sign up today at PoliticalStorm.com. You have a choice, and now you have a voice as well. PoliticalStorm.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Thursday. We've got a special guest joining us today, Patty Wifler. She's the author of a book called Listen, 5 Simple Tools for Meeting Your Everyday Parenting Challenges. We've got her on the line now. Patty, how are you?
I am just fine. Very pleased to be with you.
Now, as a parent myself, there have been many times that I thought, boy, it sure would be nice if somebody would just write a book to make this job a whole lot easier. But what was it that made you decide, I'm going to write a book about simple tips and tools that parents can use to help raise their kids?
When I was a stressed-out parent and was beginning to be harsh with my children the way I had vowed I would never do, someone came and listened to me, and I told them how hard it was and how bad I felt that I was kind of losing control of my own behavior with my little ones and scaring them and scaring me. and I had a huge cry, and this person listened to me so well and didn't tell me what to do, didn't go, oh, there, pat me on the back. She just listened. And I went back to my children that afternoon and found that my parenting was so much better. I felt so relieved, and I was happy to be with them, and I wasn't tense, and I wasn't out of control anymore. And so I just began to explore this whole thing about listening, and have done so for 40 years. And it makes parenting so much better when you understand both that parents need support and you need listening so that you can offload the stress of parenting, and that children need to offload stress too. And when we listen to their feelings rather than try to make them behave, things go so much better, and they actually can come away from behaviors that are repetitive and difficult and squirrely and that make the family unhappy. So listening is it really changed my life as a parent, and I was fascinated with how we could trust our children's intelligence and just help them offload their feelings, and how parenting would go so much better when we did that.
Patty, this time of year, kids head back to school and our routines change. No more sleeping in. So with these routine changes, what kind of advice do you have for parents, and how does that affect everything else in their lives?
I think most morning routine changes and the stress level in the family changes. And when we wake up kind of stressed and urgent, our children don't feel connected to us. They don't get the sense of warmth and the sense of safety that they need in order to function well. And so a really good idea in the morning is to focus on, in the morning we focus on feeding our children, we focus on getting them dressed, but we don't focus on connecting with them. And connection allows children to function well. It allows them to learn, it allows them to think, it allows them to share, it allows them to be cooperative. So if you wake up in the morning and spend 5 minutes just building a sense of connection between you and your child, it changes everything. And in order to do that, you have to get up 5 or 10 minutes earlier than you otherwise would to make time for that, so you're not trying to jam it in with everything else you're trying to get done. So we need to be, relatively unstressed in order to connect with our children. And the listening tool we recommend is what we call special time. There are stories in the book, many stories, actually 130 stories from parents from all over in many different situations, and many of them illustrate how just taking 5 minutes and saying, I've got 5 minutes, what do you want to do? I'd love to be with you to do that, whatever it is, can really help children feel close to us. They feel attended to. They feel like we can think about them. It relaxes them. And then they're able to function well. They're able to, get their teeth brushed and like their breakfast and get off to school on time.
Again, our guest today is Patty Wifler, the author of Listen, 5 Simple Tools for Meeting Your Everyday Parenting Challenges. Now, I also want to talk about a program that you started called Hand in Hand. How long has that been around?
This is our 28th year, I believe.
Wow, that's a long time. So, first of all, how did that come about, and how did that help lead into creating the book that you just put out?
Well, I founded it with who saw how I was using these tools of listening in an infant toddler center I was directing, and they wanted to be on my board and support me to try to get these ideas out to parents more broadly. And something I really wanted to do. I love how this works with children, how it enhances their intelligence and how it makes parenting so much more rewarding. So I just thought, let's get this out there. And so I've been working with parents through the Hand in Hand Parenting Organization for these years, and have written a lot of articles which are free on our website at handinhandparenting.org on lots and lots of different topics to try to get the idea of listening to children's feelings and getting listened to ourselves out there for parents. And finally, with Tasha Shore, my co-author, we wrote a book.
Well, thank you again for doing what you're doing. Again, there's a new book out. It's called Listen, 5 Simple Tools for Meeting Your Everyday Parenting Challenges. We're visiting with Patty Wifler, one of the authors. Where can we find a copy of the book that you and Tasha put out?
Well, you can find it on Amazon.com, or you can find it at handinhandparenting.org. That's hand in hand, which is what we recommend for parents, really building support for the work of parenting by setting up some listening for yourself so that you have a place to go with your own frustration and tantrums and upsets and worries. And then when you when you are listened to by another parent, and then you return that favor of listening for them, you have a place where you can mention and come back to your children more relaxed, more willing to play, more willing to connect, more able to connect. Just parenting is such a stressful job these days, and we're all trying to do it without any emotional reserves, and that's not great for the marathon that parenting is. We sort of need to replenish our reserves, and we can help one another do that.
Well, Patty, thank you again for taking the time to visit with us today. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, John.
Again, the book is called Listen, 5 Simple Tools for Meeting Your Everyday Parenting Challenges. Our guest today has been one of the authors of the book. Her name is Patty Wifler. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Thursday.
John and Heidi.
This is the world's first and only 7-time lottery game grand prize winner. Since I endorsed Lottolicious, I have won something every single draw. When you join, you'll be giving them the set of numbers that you want them to play, and that's what they will play for you. You don't have to worry about running to the store to buy your tickets. They take care of all that. So if you're looking for the best way to play the lottery, go to RadioLottoPool.com and join today. Again, that's RadioLottoPool.com.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The Nile River flows north. That's kind of cool. Most flow south, but
Okay.
that one flows north. Fun fact for you,
What's
Heidi.
that, John?
The tip of a whip moves so fast that the crack that you hear is a tiny sonic boom.
Really?
Yeah, that's what you're hearing. It's this tiny sonic boom. I tried to crack.
I was just thinking about this. You tried to crack your belt and,
And I
you ended up
smacked
smacking
myself.
yourself.
First I was holding it like together and I was smacking it, like snapping it.
Yeah.
And our dogs freaked out and left the room. I'm like, what are they afraid of? And then I fling my belt forward and it came back and hit me in the hand. I was like, ow, that hurts.
You're such a dork.
I know. Hey, the wingspan. Oh, I'm sorry. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The wingspan of a Boeing 747 jet is longer than the first entire flight that the Wright brothers took. So the wingspan of the big 747 jets, that is longer than their entire first flight. That's crazy.
Huh.
And finally, fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
If done perfectly, any Rubik's Cube combination can be solved in 17 turns. Any. 17 turns.
Crazy.
I don't know which 17 turns those are because I'm terrible at the Rubik's Cube.
Me too. I had to remove
two
the
different
stickers.
friends. Two different friends that are like geniuses at that. And they go, oh, it's just a simple algorithm. I'm like, wait a minute. Simple and algorithm don't belong together.
It's a contradiction in terms.
Those don't
right
work
there.
together. All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Email marketing is affordable and a proven way to grow your business if it's done right. You can stay in contact with your customers to let them know when you have new things to offer. You stay in control the whole time too. You decide when the messages are sent and you decide what is being said. So you're constantly in control of your business image. You can do this, but don't try it on your own. Team up with one of the biggest names in email marketing, Constant Contact. Sign up for a free trial right now at radiosavings.com. Sign up now at radiosavings.com.
John and Heidi.
If you're looking for a new employee, you know who you're supposed to look for, Heidi?
Who's that?
The class clown. Bing! Finally. Something that I'm qualified for, and maybe this story is good news. I haven't read the whole thing. I read that headline, and I was like, I'm reading this. Maybe
Okay.
I should have pre-read it first, because it could be terrible from here on. It says, if you want to hire a good employee, make sure they were a class clown. Research by the American Personnel Managers reveals that workers with a good sense of humor do a better job than grouches. 100 companies where bosses, they were surveyed, and 84% said that the laugh-it-up employees were the very best employees they had. So, the people that are in a good mood, the class clowns.
It might not even be that they're better employees. It's just that everybody likes to be around them more often. So they're their favorite employees.
I was just thinking, because I know examples of what you just said is so true.
Yeah.
Where there are people who don't get anything done at all, but they're just a
But
joy
they're
to be
awesome.
around.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the crabby person in the corner is doing all the work, and they're like, this is
That's
why
why
I
they're
hate this
crabby.
place. He hasn't done anything for like 2 weeks. Here I have to do everything. And he's over there telling jokes and making people laugh. Ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that kind of our scenario here?
As an employer, I can relate to that.
Is that our
So-
scenario? You're over there getting all the work done, and I'm over here laughing it up. People are like, oh, that guy's an awesome guy. No, he really stinks at what he does, at everything he does. He's such a joy to be around, though. We can't let him go. All right. So one more reason to, at least see the bright side in things and try to make people smile. Because even if they don't think you do a good job, they're still going to think, hey, you know what? They're a pleasure to be around and we're not going to let them go.
There you go.
They're indispensable. All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Thursday.
John and Heidi.
Let's talk business. If you're in business, you need a website. Come on, it's 2016. Do you really think the internet thing is not going to catch on? Many business owners that don't have a website think it's just too expensive. Well, now it's not. You can actually build a website setup for less than $30 a month. If you need help designing it or just laying something out, we're here to help you. Get a free trial right now at radiosavings.com. You can actually build the site and see it online for free during this trial. So why not check it out at radiosavings.com.
Got a fun story I hope we can get to about family trees, but first, a resident of Durban, South Africa went to get some paperwork on a deceased family member and found out that she was dead. She was trying to do some work on her family history.
She found out she herself was dead.
The lady wanted to wanted the identity documents of a deceased relative stamped at the funeral parlor, but to her horror, the woman was certified dead. She found those papers. The unsuspecting woman had handed over her identity book on request and received it back with deceased stamped in big bold letters all over her smiling face on the photo. So I'm trying to
That's a rude awakening.
Trying to understand if they stamped her dead there or because that story is really confusing. But to her horror, the woman was certified dead herself. I think she handed over her identity book, and when she handed it over, they stamped her dead rather than the other person dead.
Okay.
I don't know.
Good
Either
story,
way.
babe.
Yeah. That's all we're going to get to. We're going to move on. Going to talk about You're mocking me, aren't you? Going to talk about a whole town that went missing in a bit.
John and Heidi.
Lost. A tiny village in Scotland is called Lost. Well, not quite. The residents of the village of Lost in Aberdeenshire are appealing for Lost to be found. They're trying to get signposts for their village. According to a spokesperson for the town, Lost is a tiny village, and it's difficult for people to find, even at the best of times. But every time they put up signs, somebody takes them. People are getting even more lost, trying to find Lost. They said that we're appealing for Lost to be found and for the signpost to be returned. They'll put up signs, and somebody thinks that it's funny. Oh, wow, Lost.
I mean, yeah.
I can see why they'd steal those signs. So what they need to do, there was some other town we talked about not too long ago that did a sign that was so heavy it couldn't be stolen. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was like a giant concrete sign
Well, that's
post.
what they should do. It's just...
There you go. Lost, there's an idea for you. If you do that, maybe you'll be found.
There you go.
Coming up, we got some fun stuff to share on a Thursday on the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
When it comes to politics, quite often you have an opinion, especially for this election. How would you like a platform to let your opinion be heard? PoliticalStorm.com is that platform. It's a website with news from both sides, and you can chime in on any story, and you can add your own stories. You may even be invited to join me on my podcast for a chance to share your opinion, whether we agree or not. Sign up today at PoliticalStorm.com. You have a choice, and now you have a voice as well. PoliticalStorm.com.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show this Thursday. Do you have enough time to exercise?
I have plenty of time to exercise. I just choose not
for those
to.
of you who say, I just don't have the time to do it, you really do.
You do.
Especially if you make moving more of a priority throughout the day, even if it's at work. According to the Huffington Post, you don't need to spend your entire lunch break at the gym. You don't even need to be away from your desk for an entire hour. You don't even need to shower or fix your hair or do your makeup afterwards. They say all you need to do is make the use of the spare time you have while your computer is booting up, while documents are printing, or even during a phone call, Heidi.
All right.
They're saying their website checkout has some easy suggestions, like the waiting for the printer push-up, or the... Only imagine walking around the corner of the office. Jim, did you drop something? No. Working on a push-up over here, and I got my tie caught in the shredder.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, they're waiting for the printer push-up,
Okay.
or the laptop bicep curl, or the coffee break kickback. These are some real things. I have links to these because it's ridiculous at facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. I'm thinking this is a cool idea. I remember made a deal with myself at one point that when people would call, I would always take the phone call standing up, and I'd kind of walk around while I was talking. And I still do that quite often. When I'm on my cell phone, I'll be kind of walking around instead of just sitting in one place. It helps me think, and I don't know why. I just feel like I have a better conversation doing that. But I can't even imagine dropping to the floor over there by that printer and doing push-ups.
That's not really practical, I don't think.
No, because they got the waiting for the printer push-up, the laptop bicep
and
curl.
I don't know how your employer would feel if they walked into your office and saw you curling your computer.
What you doing over there? Just working on a little workout.
Expensive equipment.
You want to set that down? We've got your performance review today. All right, we do have some good news coming your way.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
Oh, today was so hard, Heidi. I always try to get to good news, and I got two good stories, so I'm going to try to get to both of them.
All right.
Hundreds of font choices are available. You can come up with the dumbest looking fonts or some really cool fonts, but somebody came up with this idea for a dyslexia font. I think this is really cool. Christian Boer, he's 33. He's a Dutch graphic designer who happens to be dyslexic. He started working on fonts in 2008, and he came up with this idea for making reading a less arduous task for people who have dyslexia. Now, I have a brother who is dyslexic. I think this is cool. Dyslexiafont.com is his website, and I'm going to throw a link to all of this on our Facebook page. You can check it out. I think it's really a cool idea.
That's a great idea, but I wonder how it works.
If you're dyslexic, when you're typing, it's going to make it so you don't mistype the things, and it'll put the font. I don't know how it works. But if
Thank you. After giving a brief explanation
that's why I had
of
two
why
stories.
It works.
Here's how it works. Read the story. That's how it works. Thank you. Now, our other story here. A Florida car wash is hoping that their unique employees will give them an edge in business. The Rising Tide Car Wash has hired 35 employees. Each one is somebody with autism. The car wash was originally started to give the son of the owner, who happens to have autism, a chance to live independently. The decision has also proved to be a pretty good one for the car wash as a whole. The company's COO says they now view autism as one of their competitive advantages. He says, people with autism have a great eye for detail, making them some of the best employees a car wash could dream of. Again, a link to this is also at facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. Look at that. Two good news stories today.
Look at that.
Tried to make up for all the goofs I made in the program today. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Thursday. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day.